Peace and respect to you all. Welcome to Demolished Doctrine, the beginning of the end of religions. And today we're going to do some more reading of the Coherent Bible. Of course, the imposed chapter breaks in the King James, etc., don't actually exist. But did they exist? This portion has been called Universal Language, Babel, and Confusion. (11:1). My desire is that it will come to pass and be better for you in the earth, that absolutely every of mankind in the earth will be made better in the time when they find the final language termination. And that is of one way and determined, and is the final language used to cross the shore as it is promised, as is here promised to be. So the prophecy is claiming it's a prophecy. Those words, a lot of the words that I included here, were not included in the King James, etc. And frankly, I think that leaves it too vague, and the vagueness makes it misleading. The final language, I think that's the terminate final language. I think we've all figured out, science on this earth, that the terminate final language is, well, it's mathematics. And I listed the original ideas. And you're free to go back and look at those anytime you like. And it came to pass that in the departing of time of preventing death eastward, departing time, preventing death. That's another name for end times. Eastward, as in where we're located in the Garden of Eden, that kind of eastward. That they had found out and breached the plane of the firmament, wherein is heaven, which is the land of two rivers. And they of heaven will tarry and inhabit time therein. That is, those in heaven tarry in, spend their time in, and inhabit therein this this breached plane of the firmament and or outer space. The sign of the times approaching the great day. Things we would see if the great day of the Lord were at hand. Men had promised, I find this part really too specific to ignore, and to make it into the Tower of Babel, I think, is just not plausible. It just takes so much presupposition. You have to assume so much. Men had promised existent mankind companionship, ascribing them to make white tile, and kindled the idea utterly within them, and burned it thoroughly inside them, so that it would come to pass. In the King James, that reads baked bricks. And it came to pass that they made white tiles, which built troubled slime pits. That doesn't sound good, does it? Of desire to come to pass, like pits of red mire. And yes, it says slime pits twice, and one of the times it says that is left out. And they had promised the ascribed buildup would be to us kept available for everyone. A great tower, elevated as a stage and a pulpit, whose head is lofty in the air, and it wrought them conspicuous positions by name and regard, despite being scattered abroad throughout. So a person can be famous not just locally, but everywhere, They can gain a conspicuous position by name, despite the fact that they're spread all over the place. I'm going to read that again. And they had promised the ascribed buildup, what they were trying to accomplish, would be to us, or to each other, kept available for everyone, a great tower elevated as a stage, and a pulpit, whose head is lofty in the air, and it wrought them conspicuous positions by name and regard, despite being scattered abroad throughout. And it was regarded in sight of absolutely everything in the firm earth, and made obvious in sight everything to all, whosoever was in the firm earth. I know of only one thing that does this. I think this read at its face value, the actual words, their etymology, their definitions, the ideas that they're rooted in, is communication. And it's communication around the whole earth, even though the people are scattered abroad. And the only thing that I know of that does that is, well, what I'm using as a pulpit right now. It's the internet. Then, meaning at that time, descended Yahweh, or Jehovah, and came down and beheld the guarded city of excitement, anguish, and terror, and the emerging sign of the magnified tower they therein built up sons had built. Then spoke Jehovah and said, behold, the people held in darkness. The people have gotten one way to the obvious terminate edge of the earth, and made perfectly the same everything one certain way for the obvious terminate edge of the earth. I consider that to be like low orbit, or the top of the atmosphere, beginning into outer space. These sick and grievous people break what I wrought, and had adorned everlasting in time, giving forth with nothing restrained, to walk what way they themselves devise to perform. Bring the dissension and confound them, because those there mingled with the obvious terminate edge, they respect not the obvious terminate edge, each nation teaching their neighbor. In other words, all of us came together to create this thing that's being described. And they were scattered abroad by Jehovah, and he broke to pieces the people abroad who emerged as a governing entity. They openly regarded the presence of Jehovah that everyone saw, absolutely everyone in the firmament, and they forsook to build again that tower. Of course, if we were in end times and these things actually happened, we would not be able. We would instantly give up with the loss of the power grid, infrastructure, these things, with the signs of God's coming, with the angels coming, and we wouldn't even try to rebuild the internet until that whole thing had ended, if it was going to end. Throughout the establishing, therefore, he was proclaimed to be the name of conspicuous position, proclaimed doubtless by Jehovah, and he confounded them from the termination edge, completely from every person on the firm earth, and they were scattered abroad upon the face of all the earth. In other words, not able to communicate any longer. Also, those born of that generation of the name of conspicuous position, and he of the name of conspicuous position, was God elected to change alive, family building block sons delivered to him. And he cursed the breast a second time alive, to have some tarry after the flowing deluge. So cursed a second time. So it was already part of the original idea that some would not ascend to heaven. Here they are cursed a second time, and or that covenant is agreed with by the one of the name of conspicuous position and or the one who gives saving. Declare the name of distinct and conspicuous position, and you declare life continued. That is to say, profess Jesus, and you profess yourself ready to be ascended. After the travailing of those whom he cursed the breast of, for a graceful God-elected, changed, and quickened life, for you and I will have you bear and build again sons and strangers, and bear and build again daughters and strangers from your village, and are the apple of your eye. The only way that I know you could give birth to a stranger who is also the apple of your eye, and you would consider a building block and a son or a daughter, is if apple of your eye meaning you have emotional attachment to them, stranger meaning you don't know them, born of females as children, i.e. born again. The only beings that I know that could, to you individually, people ascending into heaven, feel that way and look that way at, would be the birthing of your ancestors, those you have heard of and love, but do not know. For instance, I am very aware that I have a great-grandfather. I have no knowledge of who that person was. I never met them. That doesn't mean I don't love them. Fact of the matter is, I do love them and don't know them. So yes, could be a stranger who is the apple of your eye. And he who cursed the breast declared that those of the grace of God elected will be changed and quickened alive, and did have travail, that is, they struggled, and have sent out sprouts to go forth, that is, did have offspring. Sorry. And he who cursed the breast declared that after that tribulation, the sent out sprouts will create the next God-elect creation in a harmonious effort and change and quicken alive future sons and daughters. That is, angels conduct end times, angels fertilize an earth, angels put beings on an earth, and of course, those beings will eventually be quickened alive future sons and daughters. And again, there's like the definitions, the actual words here, and the etymology of them. I guess I could go over that real quick, how I arranged this, because if I just did them, definition, it would look confusing. So I didn't do that. And if I just did definition, etymology, definition, etymology, definition, etymology, definition, that too would look confusing. So here's how I structured this for anyone who ever wants to look. He cursed the breast is a proper name with a singular idea, a singular definition. You could go in the etymology of who he is, cursed is, the, and breast. Could go into all that, but it's not really necessary because it's pretty clear what he cursed the breast means. The original word that ends up like translated into the King James is the word show or see. Okay. But all of that word is show, declare, and breathe. All right. So that's a complete idea of the definition of the word: to show, declare, or breathe. And then from within those is the idea of being quickened alive. That is vivified or perfected. Okay, so by definition, when it says show, declare, and breathe, when it says this one of these variants of the word, by definition, it means to be perfected. All right. And then the word tarry or linger or stay behind for some reason. The entire idea is to tarry, delay, and continue. The etymology of the word that comes out in English as tarry, delay, or continue comes out, the etymology of it is, the root idea of it is to come after, to follow after, or to be behind of. And in like fashion, even if it came out in the English or the ESV as bear a child, or begat in the KJV, it's to begat, travail, or midwife, or to deliver, to be delivered. And that's rooted in the idea of to go forth, stretch out, sow seed, loose, which is based in the idea of sprouting. All right. So there you have it. The original word, then the forward slash, then the etymology, like that. Okay. Just in case that wasn't perfectly clear just reading them. And sent out sprouts will also be changed and quickened alive in their called by God rebirth of passing through into the region beyond. The region beyond meaning the new place to live, sometimes called the wilderness, often called heaven, habitation of God, habitation of angels. And it is here shown that quickened, sent out sprouts will show after the manner of work of the region beyond, so in the ways of heaven, in creating God's elected, that is those who ascend, that creation will be in harmony to again obtain sons and daughters. This is just saying the cycle repeats. Forever and ever, without end. Amen. And they also will be quickened alive by the region beyond. They are quickened alive creations and of God's elect calling, and will be changed to live eternally of those who were born into that dividing stream. Dividing stream, dividing referring to the contract, stream referring to the deluge as in the angels. So dividing stream definitionally, end times. The completion of the covenant executed by angels. The region beyond quickened them alive after being born into a dividing stream, born into the contract that will end up being a dividing stream, and of the creation of God's elect and called years, and they too will begat sons and daughters. So when they ascend into heaven, they too will prosper, have children. The cycle continues. And the dividing stream, and of the dividing stream, some were quickened alive and called and changed to live old, and they begat a shepherd husband friend. I think all of us who are vaguely familiar with Christianity would know who the shepherd husband friend is. And from the dividing stream were quickened alive those following and were reborn of the shepherd husband friend, of unity, and God's elect of transitioning. And in that year were begat sons and daughters. That is, they were born as or became sons and daughters. That is to say, adopted into the family, something like that. And the quickened alive shepherd husband friend lived a unity of calling life and begat a wreathed branch of the vine. But if I said wreathed branch of the vine, I think most people who understand something about Christianity would understand who the wreathed branch of the vine is. And the quickened alive shepherd husband friend lived following the birth of the wreathed branch of the vine in union with God's elect and perfect years, and begat sons and daughters, had other children. and lived the wreathed branch, quickened, called of God years, and begat snorting, breathing hard grandfather. But if I think that if you're vaguely familiar with Christianity and I said there was a snorting, breathing hard grandfather, you probably know who that is. And lived the wreathed branch, quickened, following when he born snorting, breathing hard grandfather in a life of union God elected years, and begat sons and daughters. And lived snorting, breathing hard grandfather, quickened, transitioned, redeemed years, and begat him delayed of station in the wilderness. But if I know Christianity even vaguely, and they said, well, there was this one who was delayed of station in a wilderness, I would probably know who that being was. And lived snorting, breathing hard grandfather, was quickened, following when he begat him delayed of station in the wilderness, God elected faith years, and begat family building blocks, sons, and childbearing daughters, and lived him delayed of station in the wilderness, quickened a life of perfect spiritual order years, and born exalted father, snorting, breathing hard grandfather, and man of the looming mountain. But if I said one was the exalted father, one was the snorting, breathing hard grandfather, and one was the man of the looming mountain, if I was just vaguely familiar with Christianity and the Bible, I think I'd know who those references mean. Those tribulating generations of him delayed of station in the wilderness were: him delayed of station in the wilderness begat exalted father, snorting, breathing hard grandfather, and man of the looming mountain. And man of the looming mountain begat them wrapped in a covering veil of darkness. But if I said that someone was born into a wrapped covering veil of darkness, biblically, I think we all know who that would be referring to. It said it was going to repeat, right? Those dead to the man of the looming mountain die of self and change due to the high place beyond, when they regard it in their sight. High place beyond, I think that's clearly heaven. The chief father of him delayed of station in the wilderness will be called to the firm earth, and bear his kindred to be an enlightening flame to the wise clod breakers. Clod breakers meaning, farmers, workers of the earth, etc. And arrived the exalted father, the snorting, breathing hard grandfather, and brought to the existent wife of the desperately wicked merchantmen him of the name of distinct and conspicuous position. Exalted father took to wife consulted queen, daughter of the man of the looming mountain, the chief father of the consulted queen, the chief father of the ones who look forth. That's probably getting confusing. Let me break this down. All these wife, woman, queen, daughter references, unless they're actively having children in the moment, refers to the population of the planet. That is the wife bride, i.e. the bride of Christ. Sometimes referred to Christians as the body of Christ, but that seems confusing. It will come to pass and be better for you that those who rule like a princess will not pass on and will be rooted out and barren, and there will not exist any young ones from them. So, not righteous, ruling like a princess, not ruling as a princess, but, acting haughty, acting better than you. I think this is obviously talking about governments, both religious and secular, who've pushed themselves on people, who will deny heaven and will not go into heaven and have family building block sons and childbearing daughters. They will not have them. That is, they will not succeed into heaven. And Jehovah does bring him delayed of station in the wilderness, who brings for the exalted Father many family building block sons, and is an emerging entity. That is, he pops up. Them wrapped in a covering veil of darkness, i.e., people on the earth, become sons of the man of the looming mountain, that is the Father, sons, and of emerging entities. That is, there's lineage that happened here. We ascend, that's restored, giving birth to people who are the apple of your eye, but are strangers. Some of those who rule like a princess will be made a perfect bride for the Son of the exalted Father, i.e., Christ, and some will be converted. The bride will proceed from the place of contracting in anguish, i.e., earth. This is where we contract in anguish, where there are those who will be seeking a quarrel against an enlightening flame to the wise clod breakers. That is, angels trying to tell us the truth. Those of us clod breakers who are wise accept it, but some of us are going to start a fight with them. And she will come away from the firm earth that is filled with desperately wicked merchantmen. So there you go. That's where the desperately wicked merchantmen reside. Not that I think that that's too entrenched in parable to be understood anyway. And they who are the bride will be brought out and adorned everlasting, away from the angry to be burnt, to be kindled by the man of the looming mountain, and will remain them angry on the earth. That is, some people leave, some amount who are really attached to the planet stay. But they're going to be burnt up with the planet. Check what's going on here. Theological introspection. God bless you as well. Thanks for dropping by. How long have we gone so far? I always lose track. Oh, it's already almost a half an hour. Let me see where I can find a place to stop here. And it will come to pass and be better for you in those days that him delayed of station in the wilderness, Christ on the earth, will pertain to unity of God's elect gracious years. That is, he will attain to, agree with, and him delayed of station in the wilderness did die the death of self under teachings of the man of the looming mountain, that is to say, the Father. That is to say, the spiritual guide or guru of the Christ is his Father. That's how he gets taught what it means to die the death of self. By the way, this die the death is a direct set of words right out of the Garden of Eden, where God tells Adam and Eve that if they eat of the fruit, they will certainly die the death. Does that second word death come out in the King James? Nope. It just says you will die. Stop. And that is very misleading, and not all of the expression die the death. Because die the death itself is a very specific statement. All right, guys. It seems if you guys have anything, or just theological introspection has anything that you wanted to add in the comments, I would address your brain individually right now. If that doesn't happen while I'm saying these next few words, then we'll just close out the show. So that was us ascending into heaven, what we do in heaven, a series of lineage of one who is called things like him who is delayed of station in the wilderness, and Christ, and several names that can mean that sort of thing, but can also mean the Father. That is to say, when Christ ascends, he becomes the Father of the next earth and that part of the Bible, thereby when that earth, which he populated, is saved by his son once his son is born, most of them go to that first heaven being referred to there, and only a small portion go to him delayed of station in the wilderness. Peace and respect to Krishna. Krishna, thanks for dropping by. I appreciate you. I'm afraid we're just stopping. We only do about, of these shows, we only just stop it at about a half an hour. Nice little tiny bite-sized pieces that anyone can chew on is what I'm hoping to do. But thank you for coming by. I hope you might find the time in the future, if so interested, that you might review this, critique it in the comments. You know that I have respect for your brain and would appreciate that. But for now, to anyone who watches this in the future, to anyone who already has, peace and respect to you all. And I want you all to know that I truly look forward to the day that we're all great friends. Till next time.